Hello, everyone. Welcome. How are you all today? Happy Friday. I hope you're all having a great day so far. Welcome to our webinar. My name is Rachel. I'm an advisor at the TEFL org. So I kind of help students if they've got any questions about courses, maybe advise them which one would be the best one for them. I help with jobs, travel advice, that kind of thing. I'm coming to you from Leicester today in the UK, the sunny UK for once. Just a little bit about me to introduce myself. I've lived all over the world. I've been with TEFL org since March this year. But yeah, like I say, I've lived in New Zealand, Australia, Canada. I've just come back from Portugal. Fairly well traveled if you've got any questions about that. I'm also currently completing the 188-hour level 5 course as well. Today, this is why we're all here, we'll be talking to the lovely Claire, who completed a course with us back in 2019, I think it was, and is now teaching online at Cambly. This is a live, as you can tell, interactive session. So if you have any questions at all, then let us know. Leave a comment, ask a question, tell us where you're from in the world, tell us where you're joining from. Yeah, we'll get to your questions and answer as many as we possibly can. Claire, without further ado, would you like to just tell us a bit about yourself, introduce yourself a bit?
Yeah, so I always kind of have loved English, always been into, reading, writing. I did English at university many years ago now, but it was always something I enjoyed. And then I was kind of working in admin and sort of legal departments for about 20 years. And I left there to do a master's in creative writing. So again, just kind of something I'd always wanted to do. And I finished that just before the pandemic, basically. So I was I'd finished, I'd graduated from my course and was looking for work. But obviously COVID made that quite difficult. And then somebody just kind of passing comment on a family Skype, someone mentioned that it was possible to do TEFL online, to kind of do the course and get the qualifications online. And it just kind of immediately appealed to me as, I guess, a lover of language. I just kind of really liked the thought of it. So yeah, I did my course. It was about a year and a half ago. And I started with the 120 hours. So I thought I'll see how I like it, if I can, if I'm any good. And I really enjoyed that. So then I went on and did the online bundle, which is an advanced module kind of specifically for online teaching, and also a practical, which was brilliant. So it was kind of 2 hours on Zoom over 3 days. 2 hours kind of each day for 3 days, and it was a great opportunity to practice tutoring live to kind of 5 or 6 students who were also in the class with me, and yeah, that was kind of the perfect sort of experience in terms of just starting to familiarize myself with the format of kind of tutoring online. So completed that, and then after that I looked to get some more experience, and I think on TEFL.org's Facebook page a few people had recommended volunteering for a refugee charity, and obviously that's a good way to kind of gain experience and help out as well. So I started doing that. That was about a year ago. And then after probably about a couple of months after that, I applied to Cambly. And yeah, been on Cambly since then. So probably for about 6 months consistently, regularly tutoring. So yeah, that's kind of my TEFL journey.
The journey. I love it. Okay. Cool. All right. So we'll just get some questions now that we've kind of thought about before, but then we'll get to some of your other questions. I can see lots of comments coming up. We've got people from, let's see where you are. Oh, Zambia. Awesome. Oh, a couple from Leicester too. Hi. Hi, Mark and Ulia. London, Norway, Minnesota. Amazing. Nigeria, Essex. Brilliant. Okay. Well, all right. So we'll get some questions now. And then, like I said, any questions, just pop them in the comments and we'll get to them shortly. You've briefly gone over a bit of this, but what were your original motivations for teaching specifically online? Was there any kind of reason for that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, sort of primarily the pandemic. So, it just seemed like a really safe way to be able to earn some money. And also I'd done my my master's, I'd done that remotely. So I was kind of used to, I guess, remote study and learning and kind of working from home. And it was something that I've enjoyed after a couple of decades working in kind of city centre offices and corporate environments. I just was ready for a change. So I was really sort of drawn to the, being able to work from home and kind of tutor in comfort. And also being able to, there's no kind of restrictions in terms of where the students are in the world. So I kind of tutor people in Vietnam, Tasmania, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Spain, Canada. It's amazing. So you really feel, especially when, we were in lockdown, it just made the world feel like a much smaller, friendlier place. So
definitely. Yeah, especially in the pandemic as well, when everyone was kind of isolated. I can imagine that would be really, really lovely. Okay, cool. And what did you think of the course?
Yeah, brilliant. Hence I went on and did, the advanced module as well. But I have to say I found particularly the kind of the grammar module, it's just not something we really spend a lot of time on in school in the UK. So, we don't spend a lot of time learning grammar, and some of my students, particularly the advanced ones, their grasp of English grammar still amazes me. And, sometimes they'll ask me questions that I'm not sure about, and I'll kind of go back to my notes from the course. Things like conditionals or kind of some of the more complicated tenses. It's just great to have all the documents and the notes from my course that I can go back and refer to. So that was really useful. And the methodology as well. It just gave me a framework, particularly when I started teaching for the refugee charity. You're really left to your own devices for that. So I think without kind of the PPP lesson structure or the skills lesson plans that I learned about on the course, I just wouldn't have known where to start in terms of planning classes. But, it really gave me a structure, and it's just made kind of lesson planning easy. I can, plan a skills lesson in like sort of half an hour now. So, and I mean, I couldn't a year ago when I started, but I just think having that structure, once you get used to it and practice, it's it was just invaluable.
Good to hear. Practice makes perfect.
Yes.
Brilliant. And what qualifications or experience do you need to apply to teach on Cambly? Do you know? Or
so you don't need, particularly for Cambly, you don't need any particular qualifications. You don't necessarily need a TEFL or a degree, but it does make you, I think it makes your profile a lot more appealing to students. So you're a lot more likely to get inquiries and get students booking with you if you have got a TEFL, a degree. It's definitely a bonus. I've had inquiries from students who, are particularly interested because of kind of my English degree, and also because of my online advanced module that I did. So I think it's definitely worth it in terms of, if you're wanting to get lots of interest and reservations and bookings and things. It really makes you stand out, helps your profile stand out against the people that don't have the qualification.
Yeah, no, and that's good to know as well, because we get quite a lot of inquiries from people who maybe don't have a degree and are seeing quite a lot of job postings that require them. So it's it's just one of the options out there for students who maybe don't have that background but have a TEFL, for instance.
Yeah,
yeah. So that's good to know. And yeah, who do you teach on Cambly? Kind of their ages, or you've gone a bit about where they are, but yeah, what kinds of students do you have?
Yeah, so adults at the moment. So there is Cambly Kids as well. You can teach children, but for me at the moment, I just enjoyed teaching adults. So most of them, I would say, are kind of probably 18 to 40, that kind of age. Quite a few students or people wanting to do their masters abroad, or some of them just for self-improvement or for their career or for business. Got a few kind of business people as well. So yeah, that's who I kind of
nice variety of
yeah.
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 Brilliant. And so just a bit more about kind of how it actually works to teach on Cambly. What is your schedule like? So do you make your own schedule? Kind of how many classes do you do per day or per week? And are they, do you have a lot of repeat students? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's really flexible. So it's one of the companies where you don't have to do, a set amount of hours at all. It's like completely up to you. So for me, I try to do between sort of 15 to 20 hours a week. But there are people that do, a lot more than that. And then there are people that do less than that and kind of do another job alongside it. But for me at the moment, I think that's about the maximum that my stamina can sort of do at the moment. But I'm hoping that I'll build it up. I think the more experience and practice you get, then you can you can probably teach for a bit longer. But yeah, at the moment I tend to teach half-hour classes and do maybe about 6 a day, maybe 7, and yeah, kind of get quite a few repeat bookings as well. So actually now mostly I've just got regulars. I think when you start out, obviously you're going to be having inquiries from new students that you've never met before, and then some of them you'll probably click with and they'll like your teaching style, and then others maybe not so much. But that's kind of the beauty of it, because there's loads of students out there and there's loads of tutors, so you end up being able to sort of refine your list of regulars to the ones that you really love teaching, and kind of they feel a bit like friends after a few months. So it's good.
We can kind of match the student to the tutor really well.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So what resources are available on Cambly for new teachers? Do they kind of give you the lessons and things like that, or?
Yeah, so it's good. They do have a lot of lesson plans. So they have kind of conversation lesson plans, which are basically, they tend to include some vocabulary, some idioms, some grammar, and then there'll be just conversation questions on various different topics, a range from kind of, I guess, movies and TV shows to work-life balance, or family, or kind of all sorts of different conversation topics. So they're really handy. You don't need to do any preparation. And they've also got lessons relating to IELTS, which is a specific language exam that a lot of the students are interested in. So I kind of specialise in that now, just the writing and the speaking elements of it. So, but again, there are lesson plans on Cambly that you can use. And also that Cambly have the sort of a Facebook group just for tutors, which is handy. There's loads of recommendations for resources on there, and generally I'll have like a few tabs open alongside my Cambly tab, conversation starters, or maybe the British Council, which has got loads of grammar kind of explanations and activities and exercises. So yeah, there's lots of things online that you can have your Cambly tab open, and then kind of a tab with some grammar, a tab with some conversation, so that if you get a call and someone wants to practice something in particular, you can just share your screen and go to the link, and it's all kind of there for you. You don't really need to do too much prep.
So you got a good backup.
yeah. There's loads of just discussion points and random questions and things. So yeah, you've always got something to hand once you've kind of got your kind of your tabs all bookmarked. You can just go to them really easily.
Yeah. Oh, good. And practical, how do you get paid? Is it weekly, fortnightly? Does it go to PayPal? How does it work? We get that question quite a lot from students.
So with Cambly, yes, you're paid weekly on Mondays. So if you're in the UK, it's probably around about 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the evening on Mondays. And yes, through PayPal. So I think that's the only kind of payment option at the moment. So yeah, you need to kind of set up a PayPal account, and so you get paid in dollars, and it obviously gets kind of converted to your kind of local currency of whichever country you're in. So yeah, PayPal weekly.
Right. And I can just see Mark Harris there has also asked, just going back to the payment, what's the rate of pay as well? He's asking.
Yeah, so it's $10.20 an hour. So it's it's not, at the higher end in terms of kind of the online tutoring companies. So it kind of works out, I think, 17 cents a minute. But yeah, I guess the kind of upside is you've got the flexibility to sort of work whenever you want and kind of as many or as few hours as you want. So it's quite a good, for me, it's been quite a good starting point because because it's so flexible. It's kind of something you can do while you're building up your own, I guess, experience and practical experience of tutoring. And then I think once you've maybe had kind of a year's experience, some other tutoring websites with maybe slightly higher rates of pay, they tend to look for 1 to 2 years experience. So I kind of thought I'd start on Cambly and build up my experience, and then there's obviously other options if you want to continue tutoring as you kind of go through your career.
Yeah, so it's kind of a good starting point, especially because it doesn't have a huge amount of requirements. You've got lots of flexibility, and then, like you say, you can just build up your kind of portfolio and your confidence too, I suppose.
Yeah,
which is
definitely.
A big thing, I imagine.
Yes, it's quite it is really quite intimidating at first, of course, but I guess the students also are probably quite intimidated. So I always try and remember that they're quite nervous to just speak to a native English speaker on the other side of the world who's like a total stranger to them. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I think if you remember that they're kind of a bit intimidated as well, then it's kind of makes you feel a little bit, I don't know, a little bit better maybe. And then once you've done it a few times, probably within, I would say once I'd been doing it for about maybe a month, I maybe less than that, I really just started to feel a lot more relaxed and confident.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for people who are feeling a bit nervous about doing it for the first time, doing their first lesson or something like that? Anything they can kind of, apart from obviously just feeling that, you're on an even playing field, the students are just as nervous. Is there anything else you kind of advise for first lessons?
Yeah, so I think for me, I just, I'm a bit of a control freak. So I would just say, I suppose sort of be as prepared as you can be. So at the start, I kind of printed off lots of things. So I kind of thought, gosh, if anything goes wrong and I can't navigate to a I run out of, conversation and I can't navigate to another tab, or something happens with my internet, at least I've got, things printed off here. I've got some conversation questions that I can ask them. So yeah, I just made sure that I had, conversation topics. And yeah, I'll open, like I say, lots of different internet tabs as well. So then you just feel prepared that you've got places you can go to. You maybe have a chat for the first sort of 5 to 10 minutes and then ask them what they want to do as well. So you can kind of put the onus on them a little bit, because a lot of the time they've got a specific requirement. So, you can have a chat and then kind of say, what would you like to practice today? Is there anything specific I can help you with? And then, you've kind of, like I say, put the onus on them. So it's not just down to you to sort of keep things going, or keep the conversation flowing. And so ask, and even, if you do kind of run out, you can sometimes say to them, let's practice kind of question and answer. You ask me some questions. So because obviously, that's part of being an English speaker or having
exactly. It's a two-way street, isn't it? So that's a great tip. Awesome. Thank you. That's very useful. All right, let's see if we've got any other questions. Oh, yes, this is a good one. So what are some of the issues that you've come across working online? So if you've had kind of any problems with kind of, if you have tech issues, or maybe if you don't vibe with the student very well, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so definitely, it's not like 100% smooth sailing. So I've maybe had a couple of students that you maybe just feel like you don't maybe click as well. I think I had a student once who just kind of looked at their phone the whole time, and I was kind of really trying to draw some enthusiasm from them, but they were quite unresponsive. So that was a bit of a challenging one. And I think when they wanted to kind of book another lesson with me, you can always say, you can always kind of say to them, oh, look, I'm not sure if, my teaching style is quite right for you, but I can recommend some other tutors if you like. Or, you can kind of say, look, my schedule's really full at the moment. So, because I think, I guess it's important that you can enjoy, what you're doing. And like I say, occasionally there might be a more difficult student. And that's the beauty of Cambly. There's such a variety of tutors and a variety of students that it's worth kind of, the students can pick and choose. So I guess as a tutor, you can a little bit as well. And if, you don't have a great lessons with someone in particular, then you can always kind of redirect them. And then sort of tech issues as well, that definitely happens, like not too often, but sometimes it might be from my side or from the student side, if they're, depending where they are in the world, or just the Cambly system might be having some problems. And I think the students kind of maybe expect that to a certain extent, because I guess that's online learning. It's just something that happens. And usually if I just literally we'll both log off and then log back on again, and then it tends to solve it.
Turn it on and off again, always the
go-to. And I'll always try and leave maybe 15 minutes between classes, just in case, because often they'll be running late, or their doorbell will go and they have to just quickly go and answer the door. Maybe that happens, or if there are connection problems. So then you've just got a bit of a buffer of 15 minutes between classes, so you're not kind of going to be late for the next student then. It just makes it a bit less pressurized in terms of time.
It's a good idea. It gives you time to get a coffee or something as well, get a brew.
Yes, very important.
Essential, definitely. All right, let's have a look. And how did you decide on your area of EFL to specialize in? Kind of what made you go to?
So because that was something that I'd seen actually on the the TEFL org webinars that I'd watched. It's always recommended, try and find a niche, because then you're not kind of constantly having to prepare lots of different types of lessons. You can just focus on the one kind of area. And I noticed that a couple of students, when I first joined Cambly, asked for help with their written English, because they'd just seen that I like to do some writing in my spare time, and that I'd kind of had the studied creative writing as well. So I thought, oh, maybe this is, you know, I can actually use my existing skills here and kind of team it with the TEFL. So yeah, that kind of made me start to think I'll really, you know, promote, I suppose, my writing experience on my profile. And you know, it seems to work because I think on the student side of Cambly, they can put search terms in. So if they want help with their written English or the writing aspect of the IELTS exam, which is the language exam that I mentioned, you know, they'll put writing in there, and kind of my profile will pop up because I'm probably mentioned writing on it about 4 times. So,
Yeah.
you know, it kind of pops up closer to the top. So that's a good tip as well if you want to be found easily by students. If there's an area that you specialise in, then, you know, mention it. The more times you kind of mention it on your profile, then it's going to pop up closer to the top of the list of tutors, so your profile will be seen more easily.
Always a good tip. And I think Alan has just put a link to our blog on finding your niche as well. So you can click on that if you're interested in that aspect of it too. Thank you, Alan. What other? Oh, and tips for making an online profile. So you just talked about your profile there. What are kind of the things to, apart from finding your niche, yeah, what can you do to stand out? Thank you, Jessica P, for asking that question.
Yeah, so I spent ages on my video, so probably far too long, even though it's it only has to be 2 minutes, but it, you know, I kind of wanted it to sound natural, and I obviously wanted to not you know, make any grammar mistakes as I was speaking. So I did a lot of takes in my video and spent some time trying to make sure I kind of highlighted, I suppose, my areas of expertise or the you know, my niche, and just tried to make it friendly. And I think at the end, you know, I say something like, oh, you know, hope to hear from you soon, bye for now, and just try and, you know, I try to sort of come across in, I guess, kind of welcoming and affable, and hopefully not too scary.
Yeah, you don't seem scary, so that's good.
So yeah, so did spend a while on my video. It's probably worth it. And I suppose try to have quite a friendly photo. And then I just included lots of detail, or as much as I could. I kind of included all my qualifications, and you can attach your TEFL certificate. You can attach, I think, your degree certificate if you have one, and you can write a little bit about yourself. So I kind of included some personal information and just some information about, yeah, kind of about my background, and that I just really wanted to, you know, that I was really looking forward to meeting the student, whoever it would be. Yeah, so just kind of spent time trying to make it sound friendly and include as many, I guess, as much experience as you can. And even if it's not specifically tutoring experience, this is another tip I got from the TEFL webinars, you know, if you've maybe trained someone in your previous job, or like with me, it was the writing, which I hadn't even thought about that could be an area I could specialize in, but, you know, it seems obvious now. So like I highlighted that. So just highlight your kind of specialist area, and then you're more likely to attract students that want to, you know, focus on that area. So just makes it easier for you as well, that you kind of, you don't have to keep preparing lots of different kinds of material. You can just, you just have one area that you concentrate on.
Yeah. Focus. Great. Yes, and that's a good thing to mention as well. There are many transferable skills. So even if you haven't got any kind of professional teaching experience, if you've, you know, helped teach your nephew piano or something that you wouldn't necessarily consider, that it's all helpful, it's all useful, it's experience that you've got behind you. So it's always good to mention things like that too. Sweet. Okay, so I think we've got a question from Ellen here. when you're tutoring online, Claire, are you tutoring one-to-one or with groups?
Yeah, so just one-to-one with Cambly. It's all one-to-one. So yeah, no, I think even with Cambly Kids, it's just one-to-one. I know there are other tutoring platforms where you can tutor groups of maybe between 4 or 6 people, but yeah, just one-to-one with Cambly, which I really like, and I think you can build a good rapport with your student, and you can always tailor the lessons kind of exactly to what they want to do, and I'll always I'll kind of, before I meet a new student, I'll send a message asking what they want to do, and then after every lesson, if I can, I'll send a little message with just some extra information or a link or just something personal, so that I think when you kind of build a bit of a relationship with them, it makes them more likely to book again and come back for more classes. So yeah, it's one-to-one, which is, I think this is my favorite.
Yeah, good to know. All right, let's see what other questions we've got. How do you keep students engaged? Thank you, Jessica P again.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good one, especially because some students, you teach. I have one student who I teach kind of 5 days a week. So I do sometimes worry. I think, he's going to get sick of the sight of me. He's going to be bored. but I think just trying to be, I suppose, friendly, and I'll always ask them. You kind of get to know what's going on in their lives. So if you ask them, how was work yesterday, or if it's an evening class, what did you have for dinner, or anything that they were doing, if they had a holiday planned or something like that. So I kind of try to keep them engaged by, I suppose, just that building that rapport with them, and
kind of personal touches.
Yeah, the personal touch, and then also just asking them, if there's anything different they want to do, what they particularly want to do in that lesson. And I think as long as, if you've got a variety of resources to hand, then you can sometimes I'll suggest, maybe I'll say, look, we could do a Cambly lesson, or we could just have some conversation, or there's a really great link actually that takes you to a website where you just press a button and it generates different questions, like just random questions, and they quite enjoy things like that, or games. So maybe mix it up a bit and have some more serious classes, and then maybe at the end of the week, let's just do some random questions today, or let's do a game or an online worksheet or something. So a bit of variety, I suppose.
Yeah, good tip. Let's see what else. Another one from Ellen. Do you do lesson planning, or is there something you link into and do the tutoring from that? So I think, do you plan lessons yourself, or do you use the Cambly lessons?
Yeah, so a bit of both, really. So I definitely use the Cambly lessons, and some students just really happy with those. So that makes it really easy. You don't have to kind of think at all. I'd recommend maybe just looking through the lessons before you start tutoring. That helped me to feel more prepared as well. And then what's available, and you can kind of, the grammar and the vocabulary that's going to come up. But occasionally, if there's something really specific, like if a regular student says, I'm really struggling with phrasal verbs. Someone said that recently. So I was like, okay, we'll do a lesson on that next week. And there's, again, the British Council has a really great page with explanations and exercises. So you don't actually need to spend time kind of coming up with your own examples or your own activities. You can generally find things online that you can then share your screen in the sort of Cambly classroom. And I would recommend, kind of, if you can, zoom into the screen as well, or press Control and the plus key so it makes the font bigger. So that when you share it, then the students can kind of read it clearly, and you just don't need to spend time like copying and pasting things into a Word document. You can literally just use the web page and just enlarge it.
Great. And I think Valentina as well just asked the question, how do you first develop your lessons when you first start teaching on a platform like Cambly, and do you co-develop the agenda with the students? I guess you covered a bit of that, the first question there, but yeah, if you can answer the rest.
So definitely, you know, I'll always ask them just specifically what they want to do. And I think because mainly on my profile I sort of highlight that I do help with this language exam, IELTS, with the writing and speaking aspects of it. So most of them, they'll come back and say that's what they want help with. But yeah, I just always ask them because they're generally using Cambly. Some of them just want to practice their English conversation, but a lot of them, especially if they're reserving lessons with you, it generally means they've looked at your profile and, you know, there's something in your experience or skill set that, you know, appeals to them. So yeah, I'll always kind of ask them what specifically they want to cover, just to make sure, I guess, that they're getting what they need out of the lessons. And yeah, because it seems quite overwhelming to kind of just suddenly start teaching someone new, and you kind of think, oh gosh, am I going to have to plan a whole curriculum? But you know, it's not so much like that really, or not in my experience. It's just you know, with IELTS, for example, there's loads of sample questions on the internet, so we'll often practice speaking using sample questions that are on the kind of IELTS org page, or there's a couple of other really good pages that the Cambly tutors recommend, IELTS Jackie and IELTS Liz. They just have loads of good tips and sample questions that you can use. So I think as long as, yeah, you just ask your student what they want to do, and then you can kind of tailor everything to that.
Awesome. I should mention as well, on our blog we have a section that goes through some of the best online resources for teachers. So that's a great place to look for free resources as well. Cool. So we've got a question from Claire. How do you? Is this the same?
Not
your
me.
Name? Yeah, I was going to say. This is you. Hi, Claire. Same name. How do you know what level each student is at to establish what you need to teach them? And do you then follow a structured course with the student, or do you pick and choose from the lesson materials to use?
Yeah. So I think, yeah, you can kind of, I would, you know, I guess once you've talked to a few different students, you can get a general feel for what level they're at. And, you know, they really range on Cambly from absolute beginner up to, I mean, really very advanced and proficient. So, yeah, you can get a feel for it probably if you know, in your first class with them. And also there are some quite good kind of placement tests. There's one on the British Council. I think there might be one on Cambridge English as well, but you can send them a link if they're interested in, because some of them kind of will tell you, they'll say, oh, you know, I'm kind of intermediate level, and on the student profile itself they can put what level they are, and generally in my experience they're quite sort of accurate at, you know, predicting their own level. But yeah, you can send them a placement test, and again, it's something they can do online, kind of multiple choice questions, and then at the end it will pop up with kind of I think it's A1, A2, B1, B2, or C1, C2, kind of which are the levels from beginner up to advanced. So yeah, so I haven't done it a lot, but some of them have said, oh, can you let me know, you know, what level my English is at, and if they ask me that, then I'll send them a link to the British Council placement test, and you know, they can do it. It takes about, I think, 5 or 10 minutes, and it's, yeah, gives them like an accurate reading then. And then yeah, in terms of a structured course, or picking and choosing from the lesson materials, yeah, just again, you can kind of ask them a little bit, so you can do a little bit of a needs analysis, and you know, ask them, I guess, why they're learning English, what their goals are, kind of where they see themselves going, whether it's for their career or for their future studies or just to travel. And then depending on, I guess, what their needs are, then it might be either more appropriate to use some of the Cambly, like the IELTS courses. You can work through all of those on Cambly, or, it'll just be something a bit more relaxed if they just want sometimes conversation or a bit of grammar practice. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's sort of hugely structured. It's quite quite relaxed. Yeah.
So you just kind of adapt to the student.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, let's see what else we've got. So, Ellen. Hi, Ellen again. You've got a BA in English, TEFL certified in tutoring for 8+ years. That's some great experience. Would I be accepted by Cambly, and would my pay rate be more than $10 to $20 an hour?
So I would say, yes, like, wow, definitely. I'm sure you would be accepted. That's like amazing kind of experience and qualifications. So the only downside, though, is that the pay rate is just the same for sort of regardless of experience or qualifications. So it's probably, it's so the pay would always be kind of $10, $20 an hour. So that's just the same for everybody. But having said that, you could do Cambly, and I know a few tutors that actually work on other sites as well that pay more. So you could kind of combine your Cambly tutoring with other websites as well if you wanted to earn a bit more money. Then there's definitely a range out there, especially with 8+ years experience.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also, if you're interested in teaching kids, I think Cambly Kids pays a little more as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, actually, so I think that might be $12 an hour. So that's slightly
so
more,
obviously not up to 20, but still there's a little difference there. That's some great experience, Ellen. Best of luck. John. Hi, John. He's asking, does each lesson need to be a complete end-to-end session, or are you able to plan multiple sessions with a single student? Is it a bundle or a standalone program?
So a lot of them, the students tend to have a subscription. So it can kind of be anything from sort of 15 minutes once a week to, I think the maximum is something like 60 minutes 5 times a week. So, and then anything in between, kind of, I have some students who do half an hour 3 times a week, half an hour 5 times a week, or twice a week. So, I would say, when you have your first lesson with the student, if they, you can kind of tell if it's gone well and you've had a good conversation and, they seem enthusiastic, then, I'll generally send a follow-up message afterwards and say, encourage them to book again. Just say, great to see you today. You can just ask them in the message, would you like to, if you'd like to continue lessons with me, please, here's my schedule, and you can attach a link to your reservation schedule, and then they can book, they can kind of book as far in advance as you open your schedule. So I open mine maybe about 6 weeks in advance. And I'll get kind of my regular students will just book, so kind of what you're doing for the next 6 weeks. And as far ahead as you open your schedule, they can kind of book in with you, and you can either open your schedule so that it's available to everybody to book, or just you can specify just for regulars, so then you won't get kind of random students booking spaces that your kind of regular students want. And you can plan a whole kind of curriculum with them if that's what they want. I'd say it just really depends on what they kind of want to do, whether they just want week to week basis or lesson to lesson basis, sometimes conversation, sometimes grammar, or if they, if they're studying for the IELTS exam, they might say, I'm taking this exam in 2 months. So then you'll be able to kind of work around that a little bit and make sure you're getting in all the kind of practice that they want.
Great. So that kind of answers Peter Lee asked a question there as well. Do you book each lesson, or are there options for block booking? So I suppose that it depends on how your schedule is open, I suppose, then, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I'll kind of I'll open my schedule so that it's kind of half-hour slots, with maybe 15 minutes in between, or maybe half an hour in between, and I'll do that for kind of between like 1 to 2 months in advance, and then I'll generally email my regular students with a link to the schedule and just say, I've opened up the next couple of months, if you want to book, and then you generally get like a flurry of reservations, and you go in and accept them. So yeah, it's good, and then you kind of can, I guess, plan your day and your routine for the next few weeks around, the bookings that you've got in place. So it's quite handy.
Yeah. So it's kind of as flexible as you'd want it to be.
Yeah, it's totally up to you. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, I hope that was helpful, Peter. Let's see if we've got any more questions. Michelle Roper-Shaw, hello. How long does the application process take to get accepted as a tutor on Cambly? That's a good question.
Yeah, so I think it quite varies depending on sort of supply and demand. So for me, I think it took maybe 4 or 5 days before I like I say, I spent ages doing my demo video and everything. I finally kind of hit send and submitted my application, and then I think it was maybe 4 days later that I got an email from them saying, that I'd been accepted. Some people
pretty fast then.
Yeah. So, I mean, some people, it can be even quicker than that. And then some people, it can be a while longer, maybe a month, a few weeks, just depending how, because they kind of match tutors to students. So if, for example, there's loads of students and, not that many tutors at any one time, then they'll really, they'll accept obviously applications much more quickly. Whereas if they've got a lot of, if they've got enough tutors for the moment, then there might be a little bit more of a delay. But yeah, I'd say generally, it's fairly quick in my experience.
Yeah. Cool, that's helpful. Thank you for your question, Michelle. I hope that's useful. Okay, we've got a question from Joanne. Hello. Thanks for such a great webinar, so interesting and useful. You're very welcome, Joanne. I'm halfway through the 120-hour course. I was just wondering, how do you manage to follow the PPP format in just 30 minutes?
Yeah, that's a good question. So probably actually in terms of that format, that's something that I've more used with my when I work for the refugee charity. We do like a minimum of an hour a week, so it's kind of perfect for that. So yeah, in 30 minutes, you can still do it, but like I say, with Cambly, because they do provide, loads of lesson materials, you don't necessarily have to worry about it quite as much, and because on the day often they'll be happy to maybe read through an article together and discuss it. That's something that a lot of the students enjoy, or just have conversation and practice kind of conversation questions and catch up on what they've done with their week. So, but I think, yes, if you had 30 minutes, I guess you could just do kind of a 5-minute warm up. And then if it was, when I've taught grammar on Cambly, I guess because, it's not kind of not kind of incredibly highly paid. So I would say I try to not spend too long outside of tutoring, actually planning lessons. So I'll generally, instead of necessarily following the PPP format, I'll just go to like the British Council webpage and look at the, talk through the grammar explanation that's on there with them and the examples, and then we'll just do an exercise at the end. There's maybe 2 or 3 exercises on those pages, kind of grammar exercises and activities. So we'll tend to just go through those together. And then it's kind of like the controlled practice part of the format. And then if you've got time, you can just have, a couple of minutes at the end, just with general kind of free flowing chat. So you're practicing more fluently. But you don't need to worry too much about it with Cambly, I think. Like I say, because it's just, it's a slightly more casual, informal sort of medium for teaching.
Less structure to the lesson.
Yeah.
Cool. That's a good insight. Thank you for your question, Joanne. Have we got any more questions? Let's have a look. Anka, hello. How do you organise your schedule? How many lessons do you fit in a day plan for a week? And then how much time do you leave for preparation in between? I think you've already answered the preparation one. But yeah, if you...
Yeah. So, I like I say, I kind of, when I first started, I wasn't sure how much teaching I'd kind of be able to do in terms of just my energy levels. So I started kind of, probably teaching maybe sort of 12 to 15 half-hour lessons a week, which wasn't, very much for the first month. And then I just kind of tried to build it up. And then I think I got to a point where I was teaching maybe between sort of 35 and 40, which was kind of, up to about 20 hours a week. And I found that was definitely my limit, because I just didn't have I kind of tried to be, I suppose, quite energetic and enthusiastic in the classes, and I felt like much more than that was a bit too much. So so I would say maybe up to about, so I guess it's kind of maybe 4 hours a day, maybe 5 hours a day, probably would be my maximum. But at the moment, I'm kind of not teaching quite that much, because I just found it a bit too much. I think, when you're starting out as well, and you're, you just kind of have a less maybe experience. So, I think once you've got more experience and more practice, and you feel more confident, then it probably takes less out of you, I suppose, each lesson. So you could probably, teach a bit longer. So that's probably what I do a week, maybe sort of 15 to 20 hours. And preparation wise, you don't need to do any at all, really. Like I say, you can use the Cambly lessons, or just have your kind of internet tabs open. So as long as you just maybe look at your students that you have that day, in the morning, I'll just check my schedule. Yes, and I'll think, well, we can do this and with this student and this with that student. And I just open the tabs, and then I'm good to go.
Good to know. Thank you for your question, Anka. That's really helpful. Paul, hello, Paul. Do you see teaching English as your main job going forward, or will it just fit in around your full-time job? I think it's your not full-time, but
hopefully it will be, my main job. I think when I started, I didn't know if I would enjoy it or not, or kind of be any good at it. And then I just, I've had so much satisfaction from kind of, you get really nice comments from your students. It really gives you a boost. They're just kind of very appreciative. And I think because they're, I suppose, adults trying to maybe better themselves in their career, or they have really specific goals. So when you help them to kind of, achieve those, or help them out a little bit, then they're very committed and kind of dedicated to learning English. So and they're quite grateful. So it's just very rewarding. So I hope that I'll be able to keep doing it as, my main job, and just kind of build up, I suppose, maybe do something else alongside Cambly and another platform. But hopefully I'll be doing it for many years to come, I hope.
That's good to hear. Brilliant. Jasmine. Hello, Jasmine. Welcome. How long have you been tutoring your longest student? What's the progression been like? That's a great question, Jasmine.
So I have got I've got 2 students who I started tutoring in March, and that was when I really started kind of regularly working on Cambly, you know, sort of, yeah, kind of a few hours every day in the week. And both of them, it's, you know, they feel like kind of like friends as well as students now. And certainly one of them, she quite likes practicing conversation, and I've really noticed her vocabulary come on. So we do a lot of reading exercises and things together, and yeah, I've definitely noticed her vocabulary. And then the other student, he's preparing for his IELTS exam, and he generally writes sample answers, IELTS essays for me. And again, with him, it's funny because you can see, you know, suggestions that I've made, or kind of phrases that I've maybe suggested, or words. I can see where they've used them, and it's rewarding to see that kind of it's made a difference. And they'll tell you as well. They'll kind of say, oh, you know, I feel like you've helped me, or you've really taught me a lot. So yeah, you definitely notice it over, you know, the course of probably, like I say, 6 months for these two students. I've noticed
it must
vocabulary.
be really satisfying as well. Hey?
Yeah, it's really nice, and you have to kind of remember to tell them that as well. Sometimes I sort of, you know, I forget to say to them, but, you know, I'm trying to make sure that maybe every couple of weeks or once a month, I'll sort of say, wow, I'm really noticing you're getting better at this, this, and this, and kind of give them some constructive, you know, because I'll kind of, you know, give them a lot of corrections and suggestions, but then I always try and give them, you know, lots of positives as well, where they've used some like amazing advanced vocabulary, or, you know, kind of a complex sentence that's, you know, perfectly written, or they've used the like present perfect tense. I'll be like, wow, that's a great example of that. You know, that would really get noticed in your, you know, by an IELTS examiner. So yeah.
Positive reinforcement. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you for that question, Jasmine. That's a really good question. Now let's see if we've got any more. Peter Lee again. Hello. Where are your students mainly based? E.g., European, Asian, Latin American? Where do you typically teach most?
Yeah, so probably mostly, kind of Southeast Asia. So I've got a few, Japanese students, and Korean and Vietnamese. So they're probably my most of them. And also I have kind of United Arab Emirates, a lady there, and I've got a lady in Spain as well. She's my only kind of European student. So yeah, I think mostly probably Asia. I think there were a lot of Brazilian students as well on Cambly, but I'm not sure because of the time difference. I've not had many Brazilian students, so definitely, you know, all over the place. Yeah, it's really cool. Get to speak to people everywhere.
Sorry to interrupt you there. What with the time zones, how does that work? So do you kind of set up good question, Alan. Do you teach across different time zones, or just schedule for, like, do you set your schedule for the time zone and then they just book on?
Yeah, so on Cambly, you can kind of set your personal time zone. So obviously I have mine set for kind of, you know, UK time. So, and then I'll open my schedule just for the times that I want to teach, which I generally try to do kind of 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And then sometimes I'll do some extra on Sunday as well. So then the students will just, they'll just have to choose one of those slots, really. So for, you know, when I'm teaching, I guess, like my Japanese students, it's often evening for them. And then actually I've had quite a few Turkish students as well. So, and they're, I think, 2 hours ahead. So then it's a little bit closer time zone wise, but yeah, right. Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have to teach in the middle of the night if you
no.
If you don't put your
no, not if you don't want, unless you want to.
Yeah,
like,
unless
and
you
I know
want to, unless it's your time.
yeah. So some tutors do, you know, but yes, I haven't quite managed to do that yet. I'm not a morning
Not a night
person.
owl. Brilliant. Thank you. That's a good question, Alan. Great. Let's. Have we got any more questions, or is that all? Maybe that's all. Oh no, we've got one from Maria. Claire, why have you chosen yourself for Cambly, and is the platform available for people who are just only about chatting and practicing the language?
Yeah, definitely. So so I picked Cambly actually. So because there was actually a TEFL org webinar with I think a Cambly ambassador probably sometime last year that I watched, and it was great. It kind of had that kind of made me feel kind of quite enthusiastic, and it seemed like it was going to be really flexible, and I liked that aspect of it, and I thought it would be a good place to start, and the fact that they do provide a lot of the lesson materials, so you don't have to worry, you're not going to have to spend a lot of time preparing lessons yourself. So a few reasons like that kind of attracted me to it. And where you say, is it only about chatting and practicing the language? Definitely for some people. Again, it's a real variety. So some really want to improve their business English. And there are business English lesson plans on Cambly. Again, you don't have to prepare any yourself unless you want to. There's lots of other, again, there's free resources on the British Council for Business English. But there are students on there that just want to literally practice their conversation, and you can just kind of chat about their day, about their week, or you can use these, like I say, the random conversation generator websites, which are fun because they just throw up all sorts of weird and wonderful questions. So yeah, there's very much just people that want to have a chat, so they're always quite fun as well.
Good, awesome. Thank you for your question, Maria. That's a good one too. Think we got a question from, I just saw a good one from Yuki Raban. Sorry if I've got your name, I've butchered your name there. Is online sustainable while traveling, for instance, while traveling on a boat and using satellite Wi-Fi? Oh, right. So this obviously doesn't apply to you so much, as I believe you teach from the UK, don't you?
Yeah, so I am just teaching from home, but I do know that people. So just from the Cambly Facebook page, I know there are definitely people that do it while traveling. And there are people that tutor from Vietnam, from Thailand, that kind of on the road. I think all they say is you need to just have a kind of a quiet place to work. You need to just be kind of be in a relatively sort of smart environment. So maybe, and to have, decent Wi-Fi. So, but there are people that, tutor from kind of hotels and youth hostels while they're traveling. So as long as you've got somewhere quiet where you can sit and you've got a laptop, because you can't tutor from your phone or tablet. So yeah, you do need a laptop or computer. But yeah, people definitely do it while traveling.
Yeah, that's actually one of the most kind of popular inquiries we have is students wanting to travel while doing it. So yeah, it's absolutely possible. I've done it myself as well. And yeah, literally all you have to do is just make sure you've got some great Wi-Fi, you're in a quiet environment, like Claire said. There's also things you can do if you don't have that. If you're staying in a youth hostel or something like that, you can go to places like co-working places abroad as well. That's always a really good place to work from if you haven't got anything in your immediate vicinity. So hopefully that was helpful. And have we got any more questions? I think we've answered that one already. Do you have, we've got a question from Ola Luwapo. What is your advice on making a demo video? Did you make a demo video at all?
Yeah, so well actually, sorry, no, so mine was more just an introduction video, kind of introducing myself. But for Cambly Kids, you do need to do like a demo lesson, and they kind of set out that there's actually an example on you know, on the Cambly site of a demo video of someone delivering just kind of I think it's about a 5-minute lesson on colours. So I would say in terms of kind of a demo lesson video, if it was kind of specific to Cambly, I would say, you know, watch the example that they have on the website and just try to copy that as closely as possible. But yeah, other than that, I actually haven't done a demo lesson video, but I think it's something that I'm you know, going to probably have to do if I apply for some, you know, some other platforms as well. But yeah, I think probably the main thing is to be friendly and kind of enthusiastic in the video and speak clearly, and maybe have some props. I think that's, you know, depending if it's for children, even if it's adults, sometimes, you know, certain type of prop can be good. I think I had a student who I had some like little kind of cheerleader kind of little things when they got answers right, and they kind of liked that, so I have to always get those out now. But yeah, they quite enjoyed that. So yeah, so sorry I can't give too much more advice on the demo lesson because I haven't done a lesson.
No, that's really helpful. And also we do have a blog post on how to do a good demo video as well, if you want to find that on our blog too. Just put in demo video, you'll find that. Okay, we've got a question from James. Hi, James. Seeing as you're working online, do you ever get the opportunity to share teaching ideas with other students aside from talking with Rachel today?
Yeah, so like I say, there's I'm on a kind of Facebook group with Cambly tutors and also with RefuNet, which is the refugee charity that I'm volunteering with. So there's loads of sharing of ideas on both of those, and I've sort of I've got a lot of resources that I use now that I've picked up from those Facebook groups. So I think they're really, really useful, indispensable, particularly when you're starting out. I just didn't really know where to go. And now I have like kind of a big long list of websites that I can go to for different things. So yeah, the kind of social media groups are really handy for that. Yeah.
That's useful, thank you. I think also Alan's just put up a link to the demo lessons, so if you're interested in checking that out, you can click on that link there. I think we've got one more question from Peter Lee there. Do you have any issues with payment from students being located around the world, perhaps due to different payment platforms and systems?
So the good thing is, I guess with Cambly is you don't have to worry too much because the student buys the subscription from Cambly and then Cambly pays the tutors kind of for, you know, however many minutes or hours you've worked. So yeah, you kind of don't have to worry about that at all. So Cambly just pay you every Monday via PayPal, and the students pay Cambly for their subscription. So yeah, so that keeps it pretty easy.
Stress-free. Good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've got one more good question from Alan Bauer. What are the mistakes to avoid when beginning your teaching journey, I suppose, on Cambly, and what are the lessons you've learned?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think when I remember when I sort of started out, before I had all the resources, I suppose, that I've kind of familiarized myself with now, it was trickier in terms of kind of for the students that want to just practice conversation. That was quite difficult when you talk to them a few times a week. You know, it was hard to, I guess, think up new conversation topics. So I would say definitely get some conversation websites open alongside your Cambly screen or your teaching platform screen that you can just go to for ideas for conversation topics and things to talk about. Yeah, and also I did used to copy and paste, because when I shared my screen on Cambly, it was the font was quite small, the students couldn't really read it, so I was kind of copying and pasting loads of web pages onto Word documents and spending too long probably making my own documents that I could then share with the font enlarged. And then I found out that you can just make an internet page, you can zoom in on it. So that was probably my best kind of lesson that I learned. Just enlarge the internet page so you can just share that screen and you don't need to kind of copy and paste it. And also another good tip actually is if you right click on the student's video, and this is probably the case, even if you're using Zoom, but because I guess if you're looking at the screen, the student will feel like you're kind of making eye contact with them if you're looking into the camera, which is quite difficult if their video is lower down the screen. But if you right click and you get an option to click on, I think it's picture in picture, and then the student's video pops out and you can kind of move it around higher up the screen, so then you feel like you're making eye contact with them. So that was a tip on the Cambly Facebook page that everyone kind of got excited about, because
it's the little things, isn't it?
Definitely. Yeah, just like little things that definitely make a difference.
Brilliant, awesome. They're really good. That's really helpful. Thank you, Claire. Okay, well, I think we might be out of questions. So thank you, everyone. Just quickly to Claire, what are your plans now? What are your plans for the future? What are you thinking of doing? Are you staying in the UK? Are you traveling? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I think, staying in the UK. I think I'm just going to continue, tutoring for the moment online from home. It just, suits me. I think I've been kind of doing it, including my sort of volunteering for the refugee charity. It'll be a year in October, so I might start to look at some other teaching platforms as well that you can get kind of slightly better rates of pay if you've been once you have more experience. So so I think that's my plans. Just keep going on Cambly because I really love it. And I've got some great regular students. I'd actually be heartbroken to I said one of them today's got his IELTS exam coming up, and I was like, you're not going to need me anymore. But then he said, no, I'm going to renew my Cambly subscription because, you're like a friend now. So I'm still going to want to practice my English. So, you definitely form, like good connections with students. So hopefully continue with Cambly and, maybe branch out a little bit with another teaching platform as well. We'll see.
Brilliant, exciting. Well, thank you so much, Claire, for agreeing to do this session. Elizabeth says you're inspiring, and Peter, thank you, such a helpful session. You're very welcome. Maria, Peter, you're all welcome. I'm so glad this was helpful. That's good to know. Yeah, if you've got if you enjoyed the session, then leave a comment. Thank you, James. Thanks, Craig. If you if you enjoyed it, let us know. If you didn't enjoy it, tell us why as well. Getting feedback is always good. I think that's everything from us. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Claire, for joining.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, Claire, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope everyone else has a lovely weekend too. If you've got any questions, just shoot it in the comments, or you can email us as well. If you've got any questions about the session or anything that Claire has mentioned today. Okay, brilliant. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.